Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to show you 5 simple ways to improve your build, so here I have this build. It's been improved. I'm going to show you the unimproved version, I did this after I did this, so before I did that, I copied everything over with a structure block. Oh, lag. Anyway, moved it over here, made a bunch of copies. Here's the regular one. Got supposed to be some sort of like meeting house or something like that. Anyway, here's the meeting room, number 1, and you can go upstairs all the way up to the top, and there's meeting room number 2. Pretty simple, nice little build. And I showed this, I showed how to build this in a few videos ago. I think it was one, and I'll put that in the description. Put that link in the description. But it's pretty basic sandstone house, and it's very bland. It's just wood, sandstone, that's the only colors, and then there's pigs. Anyway, so the first one that I'm going to show you is this one. It's the water feature house. It's got water. It says water on the door. It's the exact same on the inside. The only difference is this waterfall, and it's not a very good waterfall. I'll show you a better one in a minute. But it's just to demonstrate the point that water features can improve your build. It blends it into the surrounding area, and we'll talk more about this on this house over here, which I'll do last, I think, which is the terraforming house. Anyway, so it just blends everything into the build. And this is a very bad waterfall, and here's a better one, okay? And welcome back. So here I am, and I'm at this little area. I terraformed it a while ago in a totally different video. Anyway, so I have this little river coming down, and I put sea pickles in it, and it's just a much nicer shape. I have stairs along the edges, which kind of roughens it up and makes it look a bit more like a real river shape, instead of it having to be super blocky. Anyway, that's the one example over there. So if we head back over here, you can see the next example. And here we are again, back at the water feature one. So I have basically another water feature-y thing to show you, and it's fountains. Fountains are great. This one is a modern fountain. I don't really want to put a fountain in this build, so I just put this little tap over here, basic little tap thingy. But this works very well in modern builds. You could put some sort of a giant fountain. You could put a tiny fountain. It doesn't really matter. It works great in modern builds. You can also use it in rustic builds too. It doesn't just modern builds or futuristic or whatever. But yeah. Next feature is lighting, which is why it's still nighttime. And it's this house right here. And the first example is this window. Look at it. Okay, take it all in. Now look at this window. This is the normal house, and it's much darker. Now look at this window, much darker. Look at this window, much lighter. Now in some builds you want it to be dark, and in some builds you want it to be light. And it's really good to put some builds, make them dark. If you have a spooky alleyway or something, you don't want to light it up. And in survival mode, you probably want to light everything up, no mobs spawning. But basically, I just have jack-o'-lanterns behind this. It kind of ruins the interior. But you could totally, whoop, that's a spruce door, not a trapdoor. And that's a spruce fence gate. Anyway, you could just totally just put some trapdoors over there. It would work fine. And yeah, it can really improve your build, just to have this small little change of lighting in it. And the next example is terraforming. I guess I won't look at it last. Anyway, so it's very similar to the water feature. I'm just trying to blend the build into the surrounding area. So I've done some basic little terraforming, making it smoother around the edges, and also I've pushed the sand up against the house, like a sandstorm hit, and then it just kind of, instead of just flying across the desert, it hit the house and piled up on the side, and that's why there's a bunch of sand piled up on the side. And then the next thing is this tree right here, and I built another one. If you built several more trees, it would look more natural. But basically, it's just a tree coming out of the ground, and or coming out of the house, which kind of makes the house feel more not just plopped down in the middle of the place, And sometimes houses can feel like that. This just makes it blend into the terrain, makes it feel much better, and it just is so much better. And then the next thing, we have color. So you remember the interior, right? It was just a little meeting room. Well, now I've made it a bedroom, you know? Got some beds, and I've also added a lot more color into this area. As you are all... So here's the old... Oh, okay. Here's the old boring area. Oh, well, there's a tree inside of here. Anyway, the boring old area didn't have anything inside of it. It was just brown and sandstone color. And now this area has a bunch more color. You can see there's a little cacti. Whoa, okay. You can do that with a shovel? That's cool. Anyway, it's got beds. It's got... I went for an orangey vibe. I've done that with the rest of my buildings. You can do any color you want. Just adding a splash of color in really improves the build. I've added banners. I've also done this cool trick right here with an armor stand. That's an armor stand in there. And I pushed, so I placed him down right here without this block or the block that he's inside of. And then I put him on I think 7 snow layers, so that he was just a slight bit down. And then I pushed these blocks down into him with a piston. And it doesn't destroy it, so now it's stuck there. Anyway, I've also spruced up this area. Get it? It's spruce. Anyway, added some flower pots. Added pumpkin over there. And then I've added these vines. I've only added them on one side, but I do kind of feel like I did a sort of overkill. In the final build that I'm going to show you after all this, it's not as doesn't have as many vines as this. It's not as overgrown, but it does have vines on all the sides. I've only done it on that side just to illustrate the point. Anyway, so moving on from color, we have the additions, you know, the final category, and whoops. So this is basically just adding on stuff. So it's the same sort of thing as blending it into the outside terrain. I've added this fence. I added pigs inside, but then they just climbed on the top of this melon and jumped out. Speaking of melons, you know, I added melons, added logs, and then these little guys, pumpkins on sticks, jack-o'-lanterns on sticks, lights up the area. Looks kind of weird, you know. Maybe you want this in a spooky Halloween build. I don't know. And then I've added this little hut for the pigs to go in, but they don't want to. They just ran away. And then this little dock with boats. That goes back to the water features, you know, this like, look at this right here. It looks like, it sort of tells a story, you know. If you coming over here, you're like, oh, this guy, he lives near the river and he fishes or something, you know. And that's because of this water feature, or river or whatever it is. I didn't put it here. It was just natural, so I put it this next to it. And added this dock in so I could blend this build into the river. And yeah, that's all the tips. That's all 5. And so the next thing to do is come and see them all together. I didn't do terraforming. I didn't do that little tree out the side because I'm going to do that probably in some future video. I don't know. And this is very laggy. Anyway, so I'm probably going to do that in some future video. And what is this? What is going on? Anyway, so I've done the vines, you know, as you can see. Stretched them all over this, you know. Not as overkill as the old ones. I just have like 3 manger vines, and then I have these that kind of end off at the end. Added cows and moved the melons outside so that the cows wouldn't jump on them. And I made this hut a little bit smaller because it felt just way too big. Like the pigs would just, they would be like down here, you know. They would be like, ah, that was how high the roof up was, or was. Oops, wrong thing. Wanted the grass path, you know. Thought it was called the path block, but I guess it's the grass path. Anyway, and I've just done this a second time. I feel like it's way better than the first time, and that's just something to keep in mind. You know, if you do something again, it really improves it. I feel like this is much better, and I've also figured out how to do this. You know, nice little pumpkin thing. I've added banners, added flower pots and everything, and the interior is a little different than everything. actually, this cactus I wanted to replace with something. There we go. There's a cool little trick right here. You don't want boring old torches? Make them with little thingies. You can use almost anything in this item frame. A lot of people like anvils. I don't know. They're not the best. But I wanted to remove this cactus because I have this cactus down here, and didn't fit in as much. Anyway, come out here. Got this pumpkin guy out here, and then the bedroom is a little bit rearranged. Got the cool little torch. This bookshelf, and yeah, that's it. That is the whole thing. And you know, that is the ways to improve your build. I didn't do all of them over here, just most of them. I haven't done terraforming, you know, might do that in a later video. But yeah, that is how you do it, bub. So get out there, terraform, or not terraform, you know, just goobah.